Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown, the unofficial sumo podcast for official sumo fans. This is Ryan.
This is Flerick.
This is Jake.
And this is our first off the dohyo news episode. We're going to be adding this to our rotation between every basho, just kind of catching up on a lot of the stuff that happens between the basho. Jun-yo updates, promotions, retirements, elder stock news, all of that fun stuff that happens in between the bashos that we usually don't have a whole lot of time to talk about in our main episodes, where we're trying to figure out what's going to happen on the dohyo. So we're gonna roll with this. Might play around with the format in the future, kind of just see how it feels. But let's dive right into it with some of the biggest news. We pretty much had a very good idea it was going to happen when we were talking on the recap episode, but it is official. Our Onosato has been promoted to Ozeki on September 25th. Everybody that's promoted to Ozeki always has like some quote or something that they give at their promotion ceremony. And so Onosato's quote was, "I will devote myself to the way of sumo, striving to be a one-of-a-kind wrestler so as not to tarnish the rank of Ozeki." And then his Oyakata, Nishonoseki, also has set a Yokozuna level standard for Onosato with a quote, "Double-digit wins or more. I don't think an Ozeki without double-digit wins is an Ozeki. Shots fired to Hoshoryu and Kotozakura. I want him to be involved in the fight for
That was
the
not part of the
championship."
quote.
It was not, no.
Yeah.
That was a little
And
editorializing on my part.
I would love to think of him saying, "And shots fired to you, Kotozakura
Yeah.
and Hoshoryu." That is who I am talking about. And Goedo too, because why the hell not?
Yeah.
Always good to fire shots at Goedo. But yeah, he went on to say, "I want him to be involved in the fight for the championship. It's important to study what kind of person you need to be to wear the rope. I want to teach that as well." So yeah, nothing surprising here with Onosato being promoted to Ozeki. I mean, it'd be surprising if we were saying this at the beginning of the year when he was making his Makuuchi debut. It was like, oh yeah, after September, he will be promoted to Ozeki, this guy that hasn't even been in sumo for 2 years. But here we are 2 U-shows later already in Ozeki and looking like he might be the top guy on the Bansuke.
I was gonna talk a little trash at Kisano Sato for saying that about the double digits, but yeah, he certainly delivered on that.
Yeah,
Real quick
absolutely.
trivia question: how many Makekoshis how many times do you think he got less than 10 wins in his 31 basho as an Ozeki?
Okay, I'm gonna go less.
So
than
well,
one a
Ryan
year.
works on this analytically. Flerick, what's your gut telling you?
I was looking that up at the exact same time as
Oh,
you. So
okay.
I have a slightly informed. I didn't actually count.
Okay,
So
The number
I'll
in
hold
my
off.
head that popped in my head was 3.
7.
Oh, okay.
But
my guess was going to be 8. But after
Okay, there you
looking
go.
at the stat page,
After taking a glance at it, yeah. But yeah, 7 times out of 31, he got 9 wins or fewer.
How many times did he have a losing record?
I didn't count that, but I think there's just one.
Wow.
I think there's a single 7 and 8, and that was in 2014. And then other than that, yeah, he got. Let's see, are there any with 8? Nope. All 6 of the other times that he got less than 10, it was 9 wins.
So he never got 8 wins as an Ozeki.
Not once.
Wow.
So yeah,
Sato.
okay, never mind. He can talk.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He can talk.
I wish we got more prime Kiseno Sato when we were watching sumo. We got the Yokozuna promotion, but it happened like right when we started, and so we didn't know the full story.
Yeah, we
for
didn't really
him
appreciate
really
it.
at the time.
Yeah, he had 12 June U shows before he got his first U show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, though, yeah, saying that double-digit wins is what it takes to be an Ozeki. Yep. All right, you are one of the few people that can say that. Absolutely.
He's talking the talk because he absolutely walked the walk there. Any other thoughts on Onosato and his promotion here?
I mentioned it. I think it was on the recap that he always gives me the vibe of somebody who's kind of confused where he is. Like he's always a little bit surprised and like, oh, I guess we're doing this now kind of deal. And that absolutely carried over into his Ozeki promotion ceremony. Like I think it was like the fish that you hold up to, like, like one of the prizes that you have won for getting this rank, and he like kind of stumbles a little bit and he's like, oh, whoops, oopsie daisy. He's a goofball and he's awesome.
Yeah, those are the things that you're typically learning down in the lower divisions in your ninth basho
Yeah.
in Grand Sumo.
Yeah, I think I saw a post on one of the sumo Facebook groups, I think, about Onosato when he was in high school. And it literally is saying like, oh, a lot of people struggled to eat food that was made by like the sumo coach's wife, Okami-san. And it was like, but I had no problem because the food was delicious. I was really good at eating food. So I don't know. It's kind of lining up to your kind of goofball like persona that you're kind of putting on this
Yeah.
guy, Jake.
And
Like,
eating,
yeah, I'm good at eating
just
food.
exactly.
I'm good at sumo too. Like it just goes hand in hand.
Mhm. Eating
feel
is
like-
training.
Yeah, eating is like one of the top 2 or 3 skills you need as a sumo wrestler.
Yeah.
100%. But I just to remind me of the sumo words. Do you say like to be unique and like good or something like that?
I've seen some discussion online about what exactly the kanji meant, but is like unique, one of a kind, one and only, something
Okay.
like that was his wording.
All right. Okay. I'll look to see if he's unique for the most part. I guess that's what I'm going to take away from this promotion.
I would say so far, and at least his very quick acclamation to professional sumo, he is very unique in all of the records that he's breaking, being the first to do a lot of this stuff, or at least as quickly as he's done it.
Mhm.
So let's move down to some Jurio promotions, as we have 6 Rikishi that are going to be moving up into Jurio. First, we'll
Jurio
talk.
promotions. What
Yeah.
the hell?
We don't normally get to
Go
talk
this
about
deep?
these.
We go this deep on the is this what you this is what you talk about on the Bonsuke episodes, right?
I don't even talk about Jurio on the Bonsuke
Barely even
episodes.
then, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I just love how much this is blowing your mind.
Yeah, we're trust me. I learned some stuff doing research for this episode. I'm excited to do these in the future, just kind of learning more about kind of the sumo world and all of that stuff. But I knew about Jurio promotions. We just never talked about them in the past. But Jurio promotions are announced usually like 2 or 3 days after the conclusion of the basho, because that's when the Bonsuke is made. But they let the new promotees to Jurio know about it right away, because they have extra duties as a sekitori that they are now able to do and take on. And so they let these guys know immediately when the Bonsuke is created who is coming up to Jurio, who is becoming a sekitori. So we've got 3 Rikishi that are going to be moving up to Jurio for the very first time, and we've got 3 Rikishi that are going to be returning to Jurio. So leading off the new to Jurio wagon, we've got Waka Ikari. He is 19 years old. He had a 4-3 record at Makushita 2 last basho. He has only been in sumo for about 2 years now, it looks like, and being in sumo for 2 years, coming in at the age of like 17, making it up to sekitori status at 19. I don't see a single losing record in his past. So Waki Ikari, that is a name to look out for there. Another name to look out for, another youngin flying up the ranks, Aonishiki. He is 20 years old. This is the Ukrainian that we've talked about a couple of times. He has never had more than 1 loss in a basho. He has absolutely flown through the bottom divisions. He made it to Jurio in just 7 bashos, 1 behind the all-time record for quick ascensions up into Jurio. And the last one that's new to Jurio is Kotote Bakari. He is 21 years old. So we got 3 youngins coming up. And he's also, with his promotion up to Jurio, changing his Shikona to Koto Eho.
That's much easier. Thank you.
What's the second guy's Shikona again? The Aonishiki. Aonishiki. That was so close to Amanishiki, the guy who retired like a handful of years ago.
You want to know
Uncle
a funny
Sumo?
thing?
I hate funny things.
Oh, I apologize. Then I will not tell you that
Never mind
he's
then.
in Amanishiki's
No, I must
stable.
know now.
Yeah,
Is he?
he's in
Okay.
Amanishiki's stable. Yeah.
Hey. So so there might be kind of a Nishiki's or Nishiki's.
I think it's the
coming up.
the start to all of their Shikonas is Let me pull up what that stable is real
Okay.
quick. So Aonishiki, he went 6-1 from Makushita 4. So that is the Ajigawa stable.
Okay.
And let's see who all is in the Ajigawa stable real fast.
How many A's are there?
So there are 6 Rikishi in that stable: Aonishiki, Anosho, Anhibiki, Agora, Anzakura, Ryukai.
Okay.
And yes, I
So-
can confirm that starts with the same kanji. So yeah,
Okay.
that first kanji must be what's like the traditional stable naming.
So we also go super deep on kanji from stables in this episode. All right.
This is the episode to do it. This is where
Hey.
we're diving deep.
You're
This
learning
is-
along with us, Fleric.
Maybe
This is actually
what we don't call this
pretty good.
off the dojo news. Maybe we call this the deep dive.
Deep dive.
I think we can do better. It's gotta be a pun somehow.
Kanji.
Yeah. And I just wanted to go and confirm that it is indeed Amanishiki, who is now Ajigawa Oyakata. And that was correct. Because I was working off memory there. I hadn't confirmed that within like the past year. So I needed to make sure I wasn't spreading misinformation there.
Yeah, because we're a news like source right now. This episode's a news source. We have standards.
Nikon Sports. They are
Okay.
the source for about everything. All the quotes that I have. Google Translate doing some very heavy lifting for me here.
Okay.
Google Translate plus like trolling Twitter to make sure that those translations seem accurate based on what other English
Sumo forums.
speaking people. Yeah, Sumo forums.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So no standards. What I'm hearing, but the sources all have
Whatsoever.
standards.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. At least we hope. And Koto Te Bakari, now Koto Eho, which sounds a little very close to Koto A-hole.
Yeah.
So not
You're gonna
great
say
there.
Koto Eiko, but no.
Also,
never mind.
yes. But I believe Koto Te Bakari is the younger brother of Koto Osha. What is his name? Why can't I not remember his name?
There's
It's
a
not Koto
bajillion
Osho.
Kotos. That's why.
Koto Shoho, not Koto. I can't believe I couldn't remember Koto Shoho's name off the top of my head. But yes, Koto Eho is the younger brother of Koto Shoho. But we have 3 other Rikishi hopping up to Jurio. We have Tochi Taikai. This is his second promotion up to Jurio. He was down in Makushita for only 1 basho. We've got Nabatame. This is his second promotion up to Jurio. He, similar to Tochi Taikai, made his Jurio promotion 2 basho ago, got knocked down to Makushita, but immediately had a record worthy of getting back up to Jurio. And then the last one coming up is Chiyomaru. At 33 years old, this is his 3rd promotion back to Jurio. He's kind of been yo-yoing back and forth between Makushita and Jurio for the past year or so.
What are the ages of the other 2 that were kind of jumping back and forth?
So Tochi Taikai is 24, Nabatame is 22. So they're all a little bit older than the 3 guys that are making their first appearance into Jurio.
But still relatively young. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's definitely I feel like a bigger youth movement, especially leading the classes like Takeru Fuji, Onosato, like Hiro Umi. But I feel like we are seeing a very vast changing of the guard. Like I felt like it's been very stable for the past like 5, 6, 7 years, and then kind of the dam really started breaking last year. Tochinoshi, Inoki no Umi, Chiyo Tairyu, Ichinojo, Ishiura. Now we've got Aoyama, Mioogiryu, Takakeisho, and just a lot of new blood coming in to replace those names.
Yeah, we kind of went a while without any huge retirements, and now we're kind of seeing 1 or 2 every basho.
Yeah. But not to be out. Well, actually, let's take a look at the bottom of Jurio, see who we might be saying goodbye to, because we know there's 6 names coming up, so there's 6 names going away. We know 2 of them, Mioogiryu and Aoyama, they are going to have their spots filled because they are obviously retiring.
They are getting demoted to the couch.
That's right. Hey, can't wait. 30 years, that's where I'm going to be.
Yeah, I wish I was at that point as well.
Yeah. And then it looks like Chiyo Sakai. He's in the same stable as the Wakas, Wakatakakage, Wakamoto Haru. He went over from Jurio 13. So that's 3. Got to be looking at Asanoyama, 0-15 from Jurio 3. Got to imagine he's going down. Oshoumi, 6-9 from the bottom Jurio spot. But as we know with Nishiki Fuji last basho, that's not a guarantee to go down anymore.
If they start doing that regularly.
Yeah.
Kiryuko, 4-11 from Jurio 12. He's for sure gone.
Yeah. And then
so that's 5 for sure.
Yeah,
And
I know
who would
I've
be the other
seen
one?
I've seen conversations that this is kind of a very difficult choice for who should be going down. Because I think Onosho, he went 1-14, but being at Jurio 1, I think that one win is enough to keep him around.
Sure.
So yeah, we don't know everybody who's going down, but 6 are going down.
They announce
Well,
who's coming
4
up.
plus the retirees.
Yeah, they announce who's coming up, but they don't officially announce who's going down until the Banskei's out. I wonder if the guys themselves know, or if they're also guessing based on the Banskei. If anybody knows that, that'd be interesting to learn more about.
Well, I feel like from trolling sumo forums over the past few years, I feel like sometimes Rikshi are privy to knowing their status, because I feel like I've seen some things in the past where like names on a board in a Heya, like a Rikshi's name who like was in like the Jurio section was now in the Makuuchi section before like the Banskei came out or something like that. So the word might spread a little bit. I don't think it's absolutely certain closed guarded secret that nobody is privy to. I think word gets out a little bit.
The only ones that we know absolutely certain between basho are anybody that's coming up to Jurio and anybody that's getting promoted to Ozeki and Yokozuna.
Yeah.
Is there anything? Are those the only ones that we know for certain?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, anyways, yeah. If anybody knows more about that, I'd love to hear about it.
Yep. Absolutely.
That was entirely too much Banskei talk. I'm getting quite sleepy.
Are you still with us, buddy?
Maybe. We'll see. I was all for the people coming up, but once we got to the people going down, I was like, oh no.
Yeah, I did see you start to glaze over a little bit.
Hey, Fleric, how about some Gyoji talk?
I love some Gyoji talk. I almost love that as much as I love Elder Stock talk. Let's go.
We'll be getting to a little bit of Elder Stock talk. There's not a whole lot, but there's a little
stock
bit later.
talk. Yeah. There you go. There's some good branding.
Yeah, stock talk. So for Gyoji promotions, it sounds like once a year they announce new Gyoji promotions, and that happens after the Aki Basho. So there are going to be some big shakeups to the top Gyoji in sumo, especially with the retirement of the 38th Kimura Shonosuke. All of these promotions are going to take effect into January 2025. So as of this Basho, we had our senior Tate Gyoji, all of whom are always given the title Kimura Shonosuke. He met the mandatory retirement age of 65, so we were without a senior Tate Gyoji, and then we had a newly promoted junior Tate Gyoji, who is the title of Shikimori Inosuke, and he was the 42nd. So things are about to get a little confusing.
Yeah.
So if
you think it's confusing that wrestlers reuse names every now and then, like the
Gyoji suck.
Awful. This is dumb.
You have
to
keep
track of it.
Use numbers like their presidents. So the 42nd Shikimori Inosuke, which is the junior of the two Tate Gyoji ranks, he is going to be promoted to become the 39th Kimura Shonosuke, the senior of the two Tate Gyoji ranks, after just one basho as Shikimori Inosuke. So
that's kind of notable, because I think the Kimura Shonosuke who just left, he was Shikimori Inosuke for like years and years before he got promoted.
3, 4, 5 years, something like that. Yeah.
So yeah, apparently this next guy coming up is like good hot shit, and they're like, yeah, you can just jump up right away.
I don't know if it's as much as, which I have no doubt that he is very, very good at his job, especially the position that he's in. But I think part of the reason the other one wasn't promoted is because he was very notably not the greatest at his job, and I think he had to turn in his retirement papers like 10 plus times due to having decisions overturned. I think
it's so wild that like with Gyoji, it's like, oh yes, we will get the oldest among us to do the most important matches.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 60-year-old, go ahead and run around and try to outrun our best and fastest athletes.
Yeah.
It's so wild.
It's so seniority focused that like the merit doesn't often have a ton of impact, at least from what we've seen, because obviously Gyoji promotions generally happen based on retirements as opposed to like, you're not getting a Kachikoshi or something that's going to promote you. It's just based on your seniority. So it really just depends on when the older guy than you retires.
Yeah, I think when I looked into, I think I read something years ago from Sumo forums. It was like all the Yoji before Jurio are for the most part just seniority based. If you put enough time, you'll get a promotion up. But once you get up to like I think Jurio or maybe just Makuuchi, it's more merit based.
Oh, there is.
Where I
Okay.
think so. Yeah, I think also seniority at the same time. But I think maybe you can do some like leapfrogging. But it
Yeah.
still might be a thing where once you get to the top, you can only be two Tate Gyojis, so you have to wait until someone retires.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love how you say that. Like there can only be two.
Only be two,
What?
obviously.
Why? Because that's how it is.
That's
Obviously.
just how it is.
They're slightly more welcoming than Highlanders.
Yeah. 100% more welcoming.
Yeah.
I do have a question because like who is it? Tamiyama's favorite Gyoji, Konosuke, because he is the best at yelling and the best at looking serious. Is he promoted up to one of the Tate Gyoji spots, or is he
Not
still
yet.
kind of working his way?
So let me get through the rest and then I'll hit on Konosuke
Okay.
because he is Kintamayama's favorite Gyoji, he's become a lot of other people's favorite Gyoji. Like he's the only one who like I know you, I can recognize
Yeah.
you. Besides the 41st Shikimori Inosuke who just retired. So we were sitting with
we have another Kimura. Do we have another Inosuke?
Yes.
Okay.
So we were
Go ahead.
sitting with one Tate Gyoji for a long time. Like I think the Shikimori Inosuke that we had, the 40th, the one that we had prior to the 41st, who had just retired. He had to leave due to scandal, and so like the top Tate Gyoji rank was left open for a while. And I think they brought up the guy who just retired, and there's just a long time with only one Tate Gyoji and not both spots filled. And then this basho was, I think, the first time we had both spots filled in quite a few number of years.
Was the scandal when like he tried to like kiss like one of the like Yobidashi, not Yobidashis, but one of the like some dude or something like that?
Yeah.
He was kind of a creepy pervert, was kind of the gist of the scandal.
He was like saying I was really drunk, and
Yeah,
that excuse didn't fly, thankfully.
Yeah, he served a suspension, and then at the end of suspension, he turned in his retirement papers. But
okay.
So we're gonna have one Tate Gyoji for Kyushu because these promotions are only going to take effect in January. But come January, we will have two Tate Gyoji once again, as the current top Sanyaku Gyoji, Kimura Shotaro, will be promoted to become the 43rd Shikimori Inosuke. So we will have both Tate Gyoji spots filled. Also, Shikimori Kandayu is going to be promoted to the Sanyaku ranks, and Kimura Takao will be promoted to the Makuuchi ranks. But, Flair, to answer your question about Konosuke, I believe it'd probably be I don't know if he's Kimura Konosuke or Shikimori Konosuke. He's one of the two.
Yeah.
But he is currently a Sanyaku Gyoji, and after these promotions take effect, he will be the senior Sanyaku Gyoji. So once one of the Tate Gyoji retire, he will be next in line to become a Tate Gyoji.
On that mark, how old are our two soon to be Tate Gyojis going to be?
I think our senior Tate Gyoji, he's like 62 or 63. I'm not sure about the junior Tate Gyoji.
And 65 is mandatory retirement from that position, just like anything else? Okay.
Yes.
So would it be a good summary to say that the current number one retired?
Yes.
So the current number two will be the number one. The current number three will be the number two.
Everybody else just shuffles up one. Yep.
Yeah. And so on, meaning, okay, gotcha. And our Konosuke, we think is number three.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Man, Sumo DB needs a page for just Gyojis and Yobidashis. That would be neat.
The JSA website actually does have a page with all of the Gyoji.
All right, BRB, I'm just going to read that for a few hours real quick.
I don't remember. Kyokai members list. There's a list of all the Gyoji there.
There you go. Okay.
And for confirmation, Kimura Konosuke.
Ooh. Also, Japanese Wikipedia, I think, has more in-depth wiki articles on this stuff.
Nice. So just brush up on your Japanese.
Yeah. Or just throw it into DeepL or Google Translate like I do.
In addition, I'm not going to go in depth on this. I want to next September when we get to this. The Tokoyamas, the hairdressers. I did not know they were ranked. They are.
Everyone's ranked. Yeah.
So here are the promotions for the Tokoyama. I have no idea what any of this means.
You can't just have anyone do like Yokozuna's hair. You have to work your way up.
Exactly. Yeah. So Tokoasa is being promoted to Tokuto. Tokonaka is being promoted to Tokuto. Toko Tatsu is being promoted to Tokuto. And Toko Takeshi is being promoted to Ito.
Good for them.
No idea.
Good for them.
Also, there's another note from the Sumo Forums page. Tokonaka and Tokutatsu will reach mandatory retirement age a little over a year from now, following current Tokuto Toko Tsuru in July. Tokoasa is a couple of years younger. A lot of Tokos.
Honestly, I have forgotten every one of those names.
Let's move on to some retirements. We talked about Takakeisho on the recap episode, but as we alluded to earlier, there were two other big names that retired this basho.
Real quick, Takakeisho gonna have his own episode. We're not gonna cover him here, but yeah, these other two guys we can cover in a few minutes as far as like our own memories and whatnot. But like, don't worry, Takakeisho will get the full treatment, but it just won't be right away.
We sung a brief goodbye to Takakeisho on the recap episode, and we'll have a more full and complete goodbye to Takakeisho with his own dedicated episode sometime in the future.
Yeah, probably after the holidays when we have a little bit more time settled down.
Absolutely. So the first of which is Mioogiryu, who retired. He came into sumo as a Makushita Tsukedashi in May of 2009 and spent the vast majority of his career in the top division. He retired at the rank of Jurio 9. He sat out the entirety of this basho with just an accumulation of injuries. I wanted to pull up some stats for Mioogiryu, but wouldn't you know it, Sumo DB has decided to poop itself at just this moment. So I can't pull that up right now.
I have it cached. What were you looking for?
Just like Miogiryu's career page. I wanted to see how many Kinbo. For some reason, doing the research, I want to say 6 Kinboshi, but I don't know how many special prizes he got.
Yeah. So he had 90 total basho, 71 of which were in the top division. He got 1 Jun-yo, 6 technique prizes, and 6 gold star Kinboshis.
Very interesting
6
that
technique prizes. That's cool.
Yeah,
that's
his only special prize ever was a technique prize. That's awesome.
And
did he have any Jun-yo?
1.
Okay.
Yeah, he spent 8 basho as a sekiwake and 5 as a komosubi. Other than that, he was a Maegashira mainstay for a long, long time.
2 years in the Sanyaku ranks, pretty respectable.
No kidding, especially because he got within 3 years of joining sumo, he was a sekiwake, 3 plus 2 basho, and then he most of his sekiwake time was right at the beginning, and then in the GSB era, I guess you'd call it, like the last 6 or 7 years, he'd kind of been floating all the way up from the top to the bottom of Maegashira.
I pulled up his Wikipedia page and. This is like in the second paragraph, the main kind of general synopsis of him.
Yeah.
Mioogiryu is popular with female sumo fans who some call out his nickname 22 at tournaments, apparently a reference to his body fat percentage, which is one of the lowest in sumo has ever been mentioned in commercials.
All right.
Honestly, I
would not have pegged Mioogiryu as a fan favorite with the ladies. That would have been one of the bottom on my list. I always thought he was a weird looking fella.
He's a goofy looking guy. Yeah.
He was also probably well in his 30s when we started watching.
That's true.
Sumo.
Very
he was an old guy when we started 7 years ago.
He also has the nickname of Otoko, which is apparently translated into the man. So.
Damn it. I wish I knew that when he was around, because that would have made me instantly
That's the most interesting thing I've ever heard about him. Yeah.
I've got some quotes from Mioogiryu from his retirement ceremony. He says,
I have his body fat percentage.
I have no regrets. I kept that body fat percentage down.
Yeah.
I went as far as I could with 22% body fat. There's only so much you can do.
These days I'm up to 24, 25, so I got to call it a day.
Yeah. I couldn't I really didn't have eating as a tertiary or secondary skill. That was like down 5 or 6 on my list, and that really held me back from that Ozeki rank.
All right. What's his real quote?
Yeah.
I have no regrets, and I've done everything I could. I always
That
thought
sounds
that,
more sumo-like.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that was it. He called it a day after that.
Never spoke again.
Yep. No, he said, I always thought that a day like this would come. I was able to complete my active career to the end so that I would have no regrets. I had a lot of injuries, so I didn't want to let them defeat me. Even when I was injured, I worked hard to build up my body so that I could return to a rank higher than when I was injured, like a Saiyan, and I was able to fight energetically. I never thought that I would be able to continue active until this age, so I'm very happy, and it was a happy life in the sumo ring.
I love that.
And then when asked what his most memorable match was, he said in January of 2013 when he defeated Hakuho for the first time and got his first Kinboshi.
Oh, wow.
So what's next for Mioogiryu? He has inherited the Furiwake Kabu, and he will become a coach at the Sakegawa stable.
I had to look it up just a little bit because it's always funny. But yeah, what do you think his record is against Hakuho?
I feel like I know it's 2 wins. It's just a matter of how many losses. And
Why do you know that?
Because I did research for this coming into this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I want to say it's like, I'm going to go like 27 losses.
20.
20. Okay.
And while we're on that, Aoyama, what do you think his record is against Hakuho?
Ooh.
That's good. Ooh. Can I do a guess?
I'll admit this one is definitely funnier.
Okay. I will go with 0 and 45.
It is 1 and 23. But that 1 is a Fusen.
Oh my God.
Like I said, I knew it was going to be funnier.
Because Aoyama doesn't have any Kimboshi, right? He was never able to get one.
No, he does have 1.
Okay.
I'll look it up real quick while we're
Kisei Nosato will be my guess.
No, Haruma Fuji in 2013.
Haruma Fuji also was known for giving him away a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, Haruma Fuji went 10-5 that tournament. So he gave away a couple.
Yep. All right, but I don't have anything more on Mioogiryu, so let's move on to Big Dan Aoyama.
Hey, real quick, can we talk about his style of sumo?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I just looked up a little bit because I just really like it's hard for me to keep track of people's style of sumo during like a tournament where you see one match of theirs a day out of the 20 that you're watching. For some guys, it's very obvious what their style of sumo is. Like Taka Keisho is, of course, a pusher, right? Or somebody like was. Ugh. Anyways, though, like Mioogiryu, not somebody that I would have been able to, off the top of my head, say what his style of sumo was.
I would guess belt, but
for the sake of podcasting, why don't you guys take a couple guesses? Like, so here's the 3 main categories: is like Oshidashi, Yorikiri, everything else. So, what do you think is his biggest of those 3 areas?
I would go Yorikiri.
Cleric, what do you think?
Yeah.
He's
Everything
actually
else. I'm gonna go
he's
everything
actually
else.
pretty close. He's pretty close to balanced here. Oshidashi was actually his main one.
Okay.
He used it 35% of the time compared to an average of about 25. And then let me get down to Yorikiri real quick. Big old ways to scroll past all those Oshidashi. He used Yorikiri 20% of the time compared to an average of 25. So that makes up 55% of his total. So yes, I guess everything else is the bigger category than Oshidashi. So good call there, Flaric.
Let's go.
He was slightly more on the pushing side than the grappling side. But we're going to see a very similar lineup for Aoyama, but Oshidashi, then Yorikiri, then Hataki Komi were his big ones.
All right. So let's move on to talk about Aoyama. Some quotes I got a few more quotes from him than I did from Mioogiryu. But he said, "This is the most fun I've had in my 38 years of life. I'm very glad to have been a rikishi." Commenting about having chronic pain in both of his knees, he said, "I'm not quitting because of my injuries. My strength was gradually declining and I couldn't do my original training. I couldn't do the sumo I was taught," which makes me think, yeah, because of your injuries.
Well, I agree with you, but I also agree that like I agree with him that in the last year or two, it did feel like he was doing his brand of sumo. It
Mhm.
just wasn't working as much. It didn't
Yeah.
seem like he was able to get a strong enough push in order to bait the pull reversal that he would do so often.
Yeah. Regarding his most memorable match, he said that was against Koto Oshu in Nagoya of 2012, whom he regarded as his senior from Bulgaria. I was really happy to be able to wrestle with Ozeki, which was my dream. I was so nervous. I don't remember the details of my loss by Yori Taoshi.
That's funny that
And
he picks a loss as his most memorable one. That's
yeah,
humble.
more about who it was against than what actually happened in the match.
Yeah.
And then talking about preserving the Kasugano stable streak of having a Sekitori since the summer of 1935.
Wow.
He said, I've always had to work hard. I've always had the feeling that I absolutely had to win. After Tochinoshin retired, I believe he was left as the only Sekitori in the Kasugano stable. And then he said the promotion of Tochio Umi to Jurio helped with his decision to retire and not have the streak broken. I need to look up who Tochio Umi is. I don't remember off the top of my head because there is no Tochio Umi in Jurio right now, but I'm pretty sure he had a name change. I just don't remember who that is.
Okay. That'd be fun if he was one of the people who dropped down this past basho.
But yeah, that would be.
It doesn't make sense
brutal.
though, because yeah, if I imagine Aoyama wouldn't say that if he wasn't in Jurio right at this moment. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having trouble finding him.
Tochi Taikai.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
think it was a mistranslation from Google Translate. Tochi Taikai. He's coming back up to Jurio, so it'll keep that streak alive. So
Gotcha.
now all the pressure is on Tochi Taikai's shoulders.
Yeah.
Immediately goes 7-8 and gets bumped back down.
Yeah.
Thanks, Aoyama.
Yep. So what is next for Aoyama? He inherited the Iwatomo Kabu from former Maegashira Kimurayama, who had passed away in July at the age of 42. So the Iwatomo Kabu had been just kind of hanging out there unclaimed since his untimely death, unfortunately. So he will become a coach at the Kasugano stable that he wrestled for.
Nice.
And then I do have one more retirement. Oh, Jake, we got to get to his style. That is correct. I apologize.
Got to get to the numbers, man. What else are we here for? All right. So for Aoyama, his profile is ridiculous. His Yorikiri percentage, there it is. He used Yorikiri, he used Yorikiri about normal. 23% and change compared to 25% is
honestly
normal.
That surprises me.
I
felt
same
he
here.
was kind of, maybe that was really weighted early in his career as opposed to later in his career. Okay.
Yes. So Yorikiri dropped off quite a bit in the later teens and the 2020s. He was very heavy on that in his early career. Oshidashi is another one of the top ones that he used. He used Oshidashi 30% compared to an average of 25. But the big one for him is Hataki Komi. He used Hataki Komi more than either Yorikiri or Oshidashi. That makes absolutely no sense to me. In fact, he used Tsukidashi more than he used Yorikiri. Let me find that one.
That makes sense to me.
Thrusting down.
Because,
So he used that one 10% compared to an overall rate of 2%. So about 5 times as often as an average wrestler, he was using Tsukidashi. So Hataki Komi, he why don't we do it this way? It was his number one most used technique. He used it 27% of the time. What do you think the overall rate is for Hataki Komi for an average wrestler?
I'll let Flarek answer because I opened up the Sumo DP page.
You already looked it up?
Yep. Yeah. Average? Okay,
Yeah.
for everyone for Hataki Komi?
So obviously his percentage is way higher, but what do you think the normal one is?
I feel like it's one of those like get out of jail free cards that everyone loves to do, but I feel like it doesn't work as often as people want to. I'm gonna go with 12%.
It is 7.9.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's still one of the more common ones. There's 82 total ones, right? There's
Mhm.
82 different Kimarite. But Aoyama used Hitaki Komi about 3.5 times as much as normal.
Insane.
So yeah, and
He's a tall.
that
He's a tall dude.
yeah, and that absolutely tracks. Like he would get a really strong push, and then he would time it to step back and slap somebody down. That was like his most common way of winning towards the end of his career.
Yeah, there's some kind of like it's hard to kind of see the timing and the beauty in like this kind of push and pull that some
Mhm.
Oshi sumo people do. You can kind of see it with like Takakeisho. He's just like, oh, he's doing stuff, and all of a sudden he just wins, like when he was in his prime.
Yeah.
But it's just like that timing when you can get that down, like when you can get your opponent moving one direction and then you just like surprise them by taking them like pushing in the same direction they're going, it
Mhm.
can just be so deadly and you can just win matches immediately. So
Super
it's not
satisfying to pull that off too. Yeah.
yeah. It's like definitely not something as sexy to watch as a cool throw, but it's definitely something
Sure.
that takes a lot of skill.
What's up, Brian?
I've got 2 notes on Kimarite wins by Aoyama. 0 Ashitori, which, come on, you got to have at least 2 or 3 of those in your catalog at some
Is that
point.
how we're judging?
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, quickly look up Mioogiryu Ashitori wins.
Okay.
But also I saw Kimarite
Those are leg
name.
pick. Those are leg picks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I saw a Kimarite name in the list for Aoyama that I had never seen for anybody before, and is Soku Biotoshi, which is a head
Ooh.
chop down. It is achieved by pushing the opponent's head down from the back of the neck.
That sounds like Hitaki Komi.
I know,
But
but
chop down.
No
Maybe it's more
Ashitori for
forceful.
Mioogiryu either.
Yeah.
what are they
So-
even doing?
So I'm glad both these guys are gone. They added nothing. They added 0 leg picks to sumo. So what's the point of even having them? Ugh, shameful.
I hesitate to even look, but I do need to look it up for Takakeisho now as well.
Oh man.
Nah,
I'll
none
give
for
a-
him.
I'll give a quick shout out here to another tool that we've been using, sumostats.com. It's using the same information as SumoDB. I don't know if it's scraped from the JSA website the same way or whatever, but it gives a lot of the similar numbers or similar presentation of what stats are out there for a given wrestler. But one of the cool things that it does that I haven't seen anywhere else is net wins. So it shows a graph over the course of a guy's career, like where his net wins are. So like every time you get a win, the graph goes up. Every time you lose, graph goes down, and just zigzags up and down based on how your career is going. So for example, Mioogiryu within 3 years of starting his career was at like 60 net wins, and he peaked a couple years later at 82. And then you can see the last couple years it zigzags down almost to 0. And same sort of trend for Aoyama. It trends most of the way towards 0, but career peak for Aoyama looks like 60 net wins. So he had 60 more wins than losses at the high point in his career.
That's a fun stat and kind of graph to see.
Right.
I see there's also an injury kind of red dot. Is that like Fusen
I'm guessing that's based on Fusen or absences or something, but just for since you guys didn't know about that, I can ask one more trivia question. Where do you think Onosato's net wins are at right now?
I mean, gonna go like 50.
He's at 60 right now.
Jesus Christ!
So he is already by that particular metric, he has already equaled Aoyama's peak.
Now I need you to tell me what Hakuho's was.
All right,
just how ridiculous did that get?
I will find it.
While Jake is looking for that, I do have one more retirement I want to talk about.
Are we moving away from Aoyama?
Yeah. Sorry. If you had one more thing on Aoyama.
I do want to just kind of call out apparently the Shikona, looking at his Wikipedia page, means Blue Mountain, which is kind of cool. And also, I think this was, I think I'm correct in saying this. I think this is the first Rikishi you hated, Ryan.
Yep, entirely superficial. I mean,
yeah,
we got to mention the elephant in the room. His large breasts, very very prominent. And
distinct.
When I first, very distinct. And when I first started watching sumo, I did not find that to be something I wanted to watch. And so he quickly became probably my first most disliked rikishi.
Yeah. And which promptly led Jake and I able to admire the Adonis that Aoyama
I
the
forgot
body
about
shape
that
is.
trend. Yeah.
We were
He's
all
one of the
calling
cards
him,
that I have on my wall right in front of my desk.
yeah, the where we call him the future Yokozuna Aoyama.
I forgot
in our
about
hearts. Yeah.
future Yokozuna Aoyama. God,
Yeah.
and that scared me so much whenever he'd have a good bosh. I'm like, oh no, is it time? Is he turned the corner?
And he
He
never
would
did.
sneak. Yeah, he sneakily got that Jun-yo show. I know, like some Nagoya.
It was like
and
once a
just,
year for a few years. He'd just pop off and
Yeah.
get a Jun-yo show.
Yeah.
But obviously that started not happening the final few years of his career.
Yeah, I guess you won this one, Ryan. Of he was not future Yokozuna potential, future in him.
I just got to
But-
wait another decade to see if the same thing happens with Oho.
Yeah. All right.
But no,
What do we
just
think?
definitely want to.
Oh,
I
sorry,
definitely
go
want
ahead.
to just call that. I definitely want to just call that out because like he's definitely a memorable person, and especially being like one of the kind of a Western rikishi that was just it was definitely very prominent and someone we can easily latch onto of like either hate or enjoy.
Mm.
And with a name like Daniel, that always cracks me up.
Big Dan.
Big Dan.
Yeah, especially when we were early sumo fans, like one of the things that made us like or dislike wrestlers was like being able to instantly recognize them because it's
Mhm.
really hard to learn 42 different names in the span of 2 weeks. So when there's one guy that's just got a gigantic chest, one of like 3 white guys in the top division at the time, it's like that guy is immediately memorable. I have a strong opinion now.
So yeah, I'm gonna be sad to see this guy go. But at 38, he definitely had a great career. So
yeah. It was time. Okay, here we go. What is Hakuho's net win total?
I started in my head at like 900.
okay.
And then
it's
I'm
like
like,
in
well,
a year.
let's go down.
Say again, Flerick?
It's like in a year, right? Or something like that?
No,
Or...
how many total wins minus total losses in Hakuho's career?
Okay.
I'm gonna
way
settle
up there.
around-
Holy shit.
And I'm going to tell you, he had 1,434 matches in his career.
Okay.
So if you think you have a guess at what his winning percentage is, you could probably make
With
an
that,
educated guess based on that.
I'll throw one out. 1,350.
No.
He only lost 100 matches ever.
Sure.
I'm gonna go like 650.
All right. The answer is 943.
Oh my God. I should have stuck at 900. Oh my God.
Common theme
Cool.
for our bonus episodes, Flerick. When we do Bonsuke episodes, half the time Ryan's like, I should have gone with my gut.
Yep.
There we go.
No, he had 1,187 wins, 247 losses. So that is a net of 943.
What a
Obviously
freak.
by a massive margin, the most ever. But pretty neat. And yeah, again, shout out to sumostats.com for that visualization. I love that.
All right. So we do have one more retirement I want to talk about, and that is, of course, Hana no Kuni. And you might be
Oh,
asking
really?
yourself, who the hell is Hana no Kuni? Well, obviously
seriously.
he's a Wakai Monogashira. Now you might be asking yourself, what is a Wakai Monogashira? Because that's exactly what I was thinking when I was trolling sumo forums and figuring out who all retired between bashos. So this is just something new that I learned. I never knew this was a thing. So a Wakai Monogashira is a youth leader for the JSA. They work with new recruits at their former stable or within their associated Ichiman, and they also arrange the Maizumo matches. It is not like a title like Elder Stock. I believe they use their wrestling shikona. It's typically wrestlers that were kind of like Makushita, Rikishi. You got a good group of Jurio, and then I think this one's a former Maegashira, but never. I don't think he ever made it up to like Sanyaku or anything. So they're not the guys that are going to be eligible for Elder Stock, but a few of them are able to stick around. I think there's 8 of them, and I believe Koto Yusho is somebody who just recently retired, and he's becoming a Wakai Monogashira. So just wanted to share that, as that's just something new that I learned, something I had no idea existed.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So moving down our list, things that we're going to talk about on this episode, but there's moving forward in future bashos, but there's nothing to discuss at this time. Haircutting ceremonies. They're on a Jun-yo tour. They're not doing any haircutting ceremonies. Weddings and kids, typically those are like announced between Hatsu and Haru because there's no Jun-yo tour around that time. And so that's when you get a lot of like weddings and like kids and stuff like that. None to discuss at this time, but we do have a
But
Heya
quickly-
opening. Oh, yeah.
Quickly, just to kind of describe those, haircutting is like when Rikishi retires. The big thing is like they grow out their hair. They don't really get haircuts the entire time, and so they actually throw usually like a huge party. Depending how popular the Rikishi is, sometimes it's small and kind of just into Heya with all kind of like the people, all of his friends, and locally, or they actually sell at the Koguki-con and like they put on a show and everyone kind of can pay to actually go cut the hair.
Or
So
if you're
it's,
Ichinojo, you put on your own event at a hotel and don't invite your former Oyakata. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of depends on how well liked you are after retirement, how
Yeah.
much but yeah, each person that participates like does like a little itty bitty snip. So
Mhm.
everybody who's important to the wrestler who they've decided is worthy of it gets a little bit of a snip.
Yeah.
Cool,
If you're a fan, you can pay some money and the money goes through kind of the retirement fund.
Yeah, that's right. That's the other
Yeah.
thing I was going to say. It's a bit of a fundraiser for the retiring wrestler.
yeah.
Mhm.
So guys like Mioogiryu, Aoyama, they'll have a big it's called a Danpatsu Shiki held in the Kokuki-con. They'll get one of those probably about a year's time. I don't know how backed up they are at this point. I know after COVID they got really backed
Yeah.
up for a while. So maybe they won't have to wait quite a year, but they'll have that coming fairly soon.
I take it back. We do have a haircutting ceremony to announce. I guess I don't know the exact date, but Texas amateur sumo wrestler Ben Marquez is decided that he is done in the ring. Did you get to meet Ben when we went down there, Flerick?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, he was in Vegas too. So Ryan, you may have met him in passing
Okay.
when we traveled there as a group. But he's decided he's done in the ring and he wants to cut his hair and do like an actual Danpatsu Shiki. So in I believe it will be in conjunction with the February tournament down in San Antonio. But the day after the tournament, they're gonna do their own amateur sumo haircutting ceremony, and I think that's really cool. Didn't even think about it until we were at this point in the outline, but yeah, I just think that's fun to mention, and I think that the people in Texas that do sumo, they really mean it. So I think they're gonna do some research and figure out what the best, most respectful way to do that is, and I'll be excited to see how that goes and what they learn.
Very cool.
So apparently we talk about amateur sumo, Danpatsu Shikiri on this episode.
You're
too.
learning along with us, buddy.
Yep. That sounds great. All right. And just the last other one, we definitely talk about Jun-gyos a lot more often, but that's just kind of a regional tour of where that all the Rikishi kind of go around to different areas of Japan and kind of put on like little shows and
Like
kind of
exhibition
areas.
tournaments, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of just the idea is like get some sumo out there where like parts of Japan you don't normally get a tournament because tournaments are always in either Tokyo, Nagoya, Kyushu, or that other place. So
Osaka, is that where the March one is?
Haru's in
That's the one.
Osaka.
There you go.
thank you. Yeah. So yeah, it's just for vocab for people who are just kind of still catching up on this new stuff. This is probably a good time to kind of throw this stuff out here.
Yep. So another thing we talk about on this episode is what's going on with Heias. What are they? Which ones are opening? Which ones are closing? What is changing? So the only news to report here is that on September 26th, the JSA approved a new stable as Hidenoyama Oyakata, the former Koto Shogiku,
Oh,
is breaking off from the Sarogatake Beya, and operations will begin on October 19th. So as of the Kyushu Basho, there will be a Hidenoyama Beya competing there. He is bringing along 4 Jonidan Rikishi to join him at the Hidenoyama stable.
that's awesome.
And then I really do, for some reason, want to get deep into like Kabu and understanding all of that.
Do it.
Do it.
Bring it on.
So there's not a whole lot of
excited for.
Kabu updates, not a whole lot of like shifting and stuff like that. Obviously, Mioogiryu has the Furiwake Kabu now, and
Should we do
Aoyama
just
has the
a quick-
Iwatomo.
We just do
yeah.
a quick definition of Kabu.
Absolutely.
Wait, yeah, I guess I will do it. So
Yeah.
in sumo, there are inherited names, And at one point in time, they kind of decide like, well, we can only have so many people in sumo as kind of coaches. So they decide that there are going to be 105, I believe, are the total.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Around
So
that,
they
yeah.
they picked 105 names and say these are official sumo coaches' names. And if you have like a certificate that kind of goes along with the name, that means you can be a coach in the sumo world. And you
Yeah.
will get you can get like some money from the JSA also to coach people. And you get like more money depending how many more rikshi you have at your Heya. And the more successful they are too, you get more money as well. And but there's always, since there's like only so limited amount of elder stock, there's always a lot of like just gossiping, talking about where it's gonna, who owns what, who's loaned out to who. And so it's just kind of it's definitely very not, it's maybe, I don't want to say not important, but it's just kind of fun to follow. So I
Yeah.
always kind of enjoy hearing about this stuff.
It does give off a bit of a bit of a petty vibe to me, in some of the ways these are transferred. But yes, because there's and they function similar to a shikona, like a ring name. So like Kisanosato was the name of the wrestler while he was fighting. He retired and ended up purchasing the Nishinoseki elder stock. So now he goes by Nishinoseki. That is like his name, and that's the name of his stable that he runs. And yeah, you have to buy those names from somebody else who's willing to sell them, and they're like millions of dollars of an investment. But yeah, because they're so limited, there's like strict qualifications for what you have to achieve during your active career in order to even be eligible to buy one. So it just keeps it incredibly insular of everybody making decisions at a high level in sumo is based on how well they did as a wrestler. So it's like the chairman of the JSA is such because he was a yokozuna when he was active. That's Hakaku. Which yokozuna was he? Was he Kitanoumi?
No.
I remember.
I don't remember off the top of my
Some guy
head.
during the 80s. That's all I remember.
Hold on. I can
There you go.
find it.
Hokutomi. So yes, a yokozuna, but he was a yokozuna during like the late 80s, early 90s. But yeah, so like the better you do in the ring, the more likely you are to have success in the administrative side of things. But
Yeah,
I think
there's rules like if you make it up to Ozeki, you can you're automatically eligible to get an elder stock if you spend so much time in the top division, like 20 bashos in the top division.
Yeah.
You can get an elder stock. If you spend 30 basho in Jurio, you're eligible to get an elder stock. You're eligible to get, you're not guaranteed to get,
Yes.
but
Still got to buy one.
still got to buy it. Yep. And there's still got to be like one available. So what?
Yeah, I was gonna, last thing. Sometimes it's kind of funny because there are some rickshaw who stick around, but they're just kind of like just low. They're just like borrowing stocks from people. So it's kind of like 2 years they're this guy, and then another 2 years like they're a different name or something like that. So
well,
it's just
we'll
kinda
get to
funny.
that right now with our update. So
go.
former Maegashira Asahisho has retired from the JSA, and that freed up the Furiwake Kabu that Mioogiryu has assumed. So Asahisho had previously held the Kiriyama Kabu for a couple of months earlier this year, and Kiriyama has now been left vacant after Asahisho picked up the Furiwake Kabu in July. So that Kiriyama one is still left vacant, and it is assumed right now that that is being held for Teru no Fuji, who is nearing his retirement. So there's talk of possibly the Isekahama Kabu going to Teru no Fuji, but I don't know if that lines up with the whole politics of Kabu and all of that, if that makes sense. So it might be this.
Is a very important Kabu. It has a huge history of like important people, I guess, holding on to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So that's the only movement right now.
Can I put a button on that? The Sumo DB website has a whole section on Kabu and their history. So along the top bar, there's a button for Kabu, and you can find any of them. So I found Mioogiryu listed as the current holder of Furiwake. And if you click on Furiwake, it has the entire history going back to 1912 of who held it and what their wrestling name and rank was. So this has been held by two Yokozuna and an Ozeki. And yeah, you can click on them and see their entire career and everything. Just super cool, super in-depth history thing. But yeah, it's also at the same time something that is absolutely not relevant if you don't want it to be.
Yep.
All right. And then the last thing that I had for us to talk about on this episode is the Jun-yo tour. This is the autumn tour that they are currently on, running from October 1st through the 27th with only 2 days of rest. And I don't want to go so deep into like where are they stopping every day and like who's the big star at each location. That's too in depth even for me. If you're interested in that, go to the Sumo Forums website. They have a thread on there all about the Jun-yo tour. But what I do want to talk about is who is at the Jun-yo tour and who is not, because basically if you're healthy and you're a Sekitori, you're required to be at the Jun-yo tour. This is your job. That's where you are supposed to be. So who is there right now? Well, Terunofuji is on the Jun-yo tour, but it is in a limited capacity. He is only doing the dohyo iri and a belt tying ceremony at each location. He is not doing any training. He's not doing any chest lending. He is not on the torikumi for the exhibition matches that they do. So Terunofuji is there, but he is not practicing in any way, shape, and form. So who is not there? A lot. There's a lot of people that are not there. So Rikishi that were Kyujo from the start of the Jun-yo tour: Oho, Takada Fuji, Nishiki Fuji, and Shirokuma. Shirokuma obviously was injured at the end of the Aki Basho. Takada Fuji and Nishiki Fuji, I haven't found any information on why they are absent from the Jun-yo. But Oho, turns out when like he had that match with Abi and like his eye immediately swelled up and he looked very wobbly, that's because he had an orbital bone fracture following that match. So he has had surgery to fix it, and he will be back for the Kyushu Basho.
I was worried about that.
ouch.
Like that's something that I mentioned it plenty, but MMA is one of the other sports that I follow closely. And when people break an orbital bone, that's like one of the very few things that causes like a professional MMA fighter to crumble to the ground in pain. And the fact that Oho got an orbital fracture and just kind of like toughed it out enough to even like leave without just completely collapsing, that's nuts. That's like one of the most painful things I've heard. That is one of the most painful things that you can have as like a combat injury.
He got that early in the match against Abi. He won that match against Abi, and then he fought 8 more days with a record of 5-3 in those final 8 matches.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, that wasn't even like at the end of the basho. Jeez. Oh.
So you know what? As much as I hate Oho, that's impressive. Like
it's pretty metal. He's a tough bastard. Yeah.
Like Flurick said, that's pretty metal. But those aren't the only Rikishi that are Kyujo from the Jun-yo. There have been a list of Rikishi that have gone Kyujo after the Jun-yo tour began. Atami Fuji has pulled out of the Kyujo tour due to osteoarthritis of the right hip. I think he got hurt. It was one of the first 3 days he was there. He had to pull out. He's got a medical certificate for 1 month of rest and treatment, so he should be back for the Kyushu Basho. Wakataka Kage, this one's a little concerning. He had to pull out due to patellar tendonitis of his right knee. That is the surgically repaired knee. It was inflamed, and that requires 4 weeks of treatment and rehab. So he should be back for the Kyushu Basho, but that is a little concerning that Wakataka Kage had to pull out due to issues with that surgically repaired knee.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying. That was obviously the top question was like, which knee?
Yeah.
Yikes, that sucks.
Not a shocker here. Takayasu has pulled out. Jake, if I were to tell you why Takayasu pulled out, what would you say?
I already read it, but I know it's his back. It's always his back these days.
Always the back. He's got acute lower back pain with a deformed lumbar vertebrae condition. I love that they hand in medical certificates so we get like exactly what's wrong with them.
Yeah, and that's always been a big thing is that like you need an official doctor's note, otherwise you will be doing sumo is kind of the culture. So yeah, and 3 weeks is that's more than the standard. Usually it's like The guy's
Just
leg
two.
fell off, 2 weeks of rest.
Yeah.
Or like the guy has diabetes, 2 weeks of rest. Or whatever. And it's always 2 weeks of rest. So 3 weeks, that must be pretty bad. And 4 weeks for Wakataka Kage. Yikes.
Yeah. And then we also had Hokuto Fuji and Chura no Umi both pulling out, both due to, it looks like, sickness. And I think they both had like 1 week medical certificates to recover from their illness. So those guys should be back. But yeah, it hasn't been great for the Jun-yo tour with a lot of people dropping out of there.
Yeah, and news from the Jun-yo tour is usually the best way to guess who is coming into the next tournament injured.
That based on what's been happening in Jun-yo's is how I've been fairly accurate on guessing if Terunofuji is going to be competing in a basho or not.
That's the biggest one. And the fact that he's traveling is a good sign, but the fact that he's usually they at least do, you said chest lending, was that the term you used?
Yeah,
where
he's not even doing any butsukari. He's not doing any practice matches. So
butsukari being like the standard pushing drill where the senior wrestler lets the junior wrestler push them across the ring back and forth until they get exhausted. And usually that's one of the things on the Jun-yo tour that the Yokozunas always do, just because it's like a big spectacle. Like, all right, I'm gonna take this newbie and I'm gonna make him earn some time in the ring with the Yokozuna and he makes the guy pushing back and forth, and that's like a big cool spectacle. And if he's not even doing that, that's a bad sign.
Yeah. Looking at Sumo forums, there is a update on the Oho thing. So it sounds like he had surgery today. Needs to recuperate at home till the 27th. Doesn't look like Choranumi hasn't returned. Also, it looks like Shonanaumi has been absent since day one due to hyperhidrosis and suspected hyperthyroidism. Takuro Fuji is gone due to a lumbar vertebrae herniated disc. And Nishiki Fuji is gone due to a right deltoid ligament injury.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
You know it's bad when the news is in Latin.
Yeah. All right. The only other thing from Jun-yo, on day 6, there was an all Ozeki training session. So I think typically how the Jun-yo works is like they start the day on the dohyo with just like actual practice where they're practicing against other Rikishi, doing practice matches and all that. And then they'll do other events like fans ask questions, do fan service and stuff. And then they do exhibition matches. And so on day 6, there was an all Ozeki training session with Chairman Hakaku in attendance. So in that training session, Hoshoryu went 7-3. Onosato went 4-3, and Koto Zakura went 1-6. And I believe Koto Zakura said something to the effect of like, "Oh, I wasn't ready for this. I was not prepared for this kind of training session."
Yeah.
I just think that was interesting that the chairman came around, so the Ozeki put on a little bit of a show. So that's pretty cool. Well, 2 of them did. Koto Zakura attended. Yeah.
Yeah. You better be in shape right now.
Yeah. So that's what I've got for that's all the news happening between the Aki Basho and the Kyushu Basho. Luckily, it's been it's been a completely scandal-free break. Don't always get those in the world of sumo, so that's always nice that we don't have to talk about any of that. So this is obviously something new. Right now, we're going with the name Off the Dohyo News, but if any of our patrons like the name or they think they have a better name for what we can call these episodes, feel free to hop in our Discord. Let us know what you think. Just send us a message on Patreon. We'd love to get your input on what we should call these episodes if Off the Dohyo News isn't working for you. But otherwise, we're gonna do these between every basho. The news coming out of it, some of it's gonna be the same. Like we're always gonna have Jurio promotions. We're not always going to have Ozeki promotions. We're not always going to have big time retirements. So some of these episodes might be a little thinner than others, but there's also going to be times, hey, we're going to be talking about haircutting ceremonies. We're going to be talking about who's getting married and all of that stuff. So kind of between every basho, it's going to be a little bit different because we're in a different cycle of the year, and different things happen at different times in the sumo world. So I don't have anything else to add to this episode. Fleric, Jake, you got any other nuggets to throw in here?
Well, why don't I give you a rundown on amateur sumo? What's coming up here? No, I'm kidding.
No,
Go
thank
ahead.
you.
I'm good.
All right. Well,
No.
until sorry.
No, I was just gonna say no. Other than let's the Ryan sucks at news might be a good title.
No,
Patrons,
that's
think about that.
fine. You
Come on,
can
GS peeps.
you can put these episodes together then.
They're not gonna happen. So
That's what I thought. So until next time, throw your salt in Fleric's eyes and keep moving forward.